Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be tackling a question that's pretty central to product development.
Okay.
Are we building things just to build them, or are we truly making an impact?
Right.
And to help us explore this, we're going to be looking at the difference between outputs and outcomes with some insights from Dr. Jareau Almeyda.
Ooh.
Yeah, so his recent LinkedIn article really got me thinking, and his background is pretty fascinating too.
Definitely. Yeah. His book on leadership, and then also his personal experience surviving 9/11, I think bring a really unique perspective to this discussion, for sure.
Absolutely. So let's jump into this article.
Okay.
So Dr. Almeyda starts by describing what he calls the traditional product development process.
Okay.
And he kind of paints this picture of, you've got ideas, they turn into requirements, then prototypes, and then boom, another project's done.
Sure.
He even uses some phrases like build it and forget it to describe this approach.
Mm-hmm.
Does that resonate with you? Have you seen this play out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think the article hits the nail on the head when it highlights the problem with that approach, right?
Yeah.
Because the focus becomes solely on delivering a thing
Right.
instead of actually understanding, if that thing creates value for the user.
And he uses this analogy of baking this beautiful cake
Yes.
that no one wants to eat.
Right.
You put all this effort into it, but there's no real impact.
Yeah.
So how do we move away from just churning out things?
Right.
Well, Dr. Almeyda breaks it down by distinguishing between outputs and outcomes.
And he does it so effectively with that question.
Yeah.
That I love this product because
I love this product because ...
it makes you think about the value proposition.
Yeah.
Right? Like you love a product because it solves a problem. It makes your life easier, brings you joy.
Exactly.
Those are the outcomes.
Right.
And they're distinct from the outputs, which are more about, the process of getting that product to market.
Yes. So outputs are all about those quantitative metrics like cost, time, scope. Did we deliver on time and under budget? Yeah.
But the outcomes are what really matter in the long run.
Exactly.
Things like ROI or market share or customer satisfaction.
Yeah, it's a subtle but crucial difference.
It is.
Yeah.
So think about A/B testing a new feature.
Okay.
You might see an immediate spike in click-through rates.
Right.
Okay, great.
Right.
That's an output.
Yeah.
But the real test is whether it leads to increased user retention or conversions over time.
Right. Those are the outcomes that indicate success.
Exactly. And those outcome metrics, they're not always easy to measure, are they?
No, they're not. They often take longer to reveal themselves. It's
Sure.
kind of like planting a tree,
Right.
You don't see the full impact for years, but you're ultimately focused on the shade it provides the fruit. It bears the ecosystem it supports.
Absolutely. And that's where Dr. Almeyda is really urging us to make this major shift in mindset.
Yeah.
He's saying, hey, stop obsessing over just getting things done and start thinking about the real impact you're making.
Exactly.
But he doesn't just leave us with this philosophical idea.
Right. He gives us some really actionable steps to actually make this shift happen.
I think what's really intriguing is how these steps echo his own journey and beliefs.
Okay.
So just like he emphasizes both hard and soft skills in his book on leadership, he highlights the need to balance outputs with outcomes in product development.
Interesting. So he encourages us to do things like prioritize impactful features, align our product strategy with company goals, and utilize OKRs as a framework.
Yeah, those are all concrete things that people can start doing right away.
Okay.
And they all tie back to that core idea of focusing on the why behind what we're building.
I love that, the why.
Yeah.
And speaking of OKRs,
Okay.
one way to ensure that they're outcome-oriented is to use a technique called impact mapping.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of this?
I have, yeah.
So you actually visualize the desired outcomes like increased user engagement or market share growth.
Yep.
And then you work backward to identify the features and initiatives that will contribute most to those outcomes.
I love that approach.
Yeah, so it's not just about setting the goals, it's about making sure the goals themselves are driving towards meaningful results. That's how we're all connected.
It is.
He lays out this really thought-provoking scenario in the article.
Oh, yeah.
Imagine nailing all your output metrics,
Okay.
delivering on time, under budget, meeting all the specs,
Yep.
but ending up with a product that's completely useless.
Right.
That really drives home the point, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you question what success really looks like.
Exactly. And that actually makes me curious about Dr. Almeyda's own career path, which we'll get into a little bit later, but he's held so many different roles.
It seems like he's constantly seeking new challenges and applying his knowledge to diverse fields, which I think aligns perfectly with this idea of being outcome-oriented.
I agree with that. He's not just focused on performing a specific role. He's looking for opportunities to make a real difference, whatever that may look like.
Exactly.
You know what else I find fascinating?
That's a book.
Before diving into the corporate world, he was deeply involved in, wait for it, the dance community.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
I know, right?
Mm.
It might seem like a surprising detail, but it actually speaks volumes about his commitment to community and his well-roundedness.
Yeah, and it ties in beautifully with this topic, because even in dance, it's not just about the steps.
Right.
It's about the feeling, the connection, the impact you create.
It's that human element again.
Yes.
He was building a community and fostering these connections long before the days of, online platforms and all that.
That's awesome.
In fact, he even met his wife through dance.
Oh, well, that's great.
So sweet. It seems like that focus on community and human connection continues to be a driving force in his work today.
Yeah, I agree.
Whether it's building a team, developing a product, or leading a company, he seems to approach it all with that same sense of purpose and intentionality.
Absolutely.
So we've kind of established that this shift from outputs to outcomes is important, and we've touched on some actual steps we can take. But now I'm really curious to hear more about Dr. Almeyda's career journey and how it shaped his perspective on this whole concept.
Yeah, let's dive into that next.
Let's take a quick break. Want to equip your child with the skills of top global consultants? Don't let them fall behind. Raising Tomorrow's Leaders, The Consultant's Mindset by Dr. Jareau Almeyda is your guide to fostering essential skills in your children for their lifelong success. Available now on Amazon. Okay, welcome back.
His career path is anything but linear. He's been a business analyst, a product manager, an architect, even a researcher and documentarian.
Wow.
And he's worked with companies all over the world.
Yeah, that global experience must have given him such a broad perspective on how different cultures approach, problem solving and innovation.
It's fascinating to consider how that might have influenced his thinking about outputs versus outcomes. Seeing firsthand how different approaches can lead to very different results, even when the initial goals might seem similar.
And let's not forget that his career journey began during a truly pivotal moment in history.
Right.
He was working on the 85th floor of the World Trade Center on September 11th.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's impossible to imagine the profound impact that experience must have had on him.
It's hard to even fathom.
His LinkedIn profile mentions that 9/11 was a catalyst for him to further his education, eventually leading him to earn a PhD in information systems.
It speaks to his resilience and his drive to learn and grow, even in the face of, unimaginable tragedy.
And it reinforces this idea of outcomes being central to his worldview.
Yeah.
He didn't just get a degree for the sake of having it. He pursued knowledge to make a tangible difference in the world.
And you can really see that commitment to making a difference in his work today.
Yeah.
He's dedicated his career to saving lives.
Wow.
First with life sciences, then sustainable solutions, and now fire safety.
It's clear that his work is driven by a deep sense of purpose, a desire to create positive change, and a commitment to leaving the world a better place than he found it.
It's remarkable how he's woven together his personal experiences, his passion for community, and his professional expertise to create such a meaningful and impactful career.
And it all circles back to this idea of outcomes.
Yeah.
He's not just focused on the tasks or the deliverables. He's constantly asking himself, what is the ultimate impact I want to have?
Right.
And then he uses all of his skills and experiences to work towards that goal.
It's inspiring, really. And it makes me think about how we can all apply this mindset even in our everyday lives. It's not just about work. It's about how we approach our personal goals, our relationships, even our hobbies.
It's about shifting our focus from simply checking things off a list to considering the ripple effects of our actions.
Yeah.
What kind of impact do we want to have on our families, our communities, the world around us?
That's a powerful question. And it brings us back to the heart of this deep dive.
Okay.
Before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more key takeaway from Dr. Almeyda's article, which is the importance of continuous evaluation and adaptation.
He emphasizes that it's not enough to just set outcome-oriented goals.
Right.
We need to be constantly assessing our progress,
Yeah.
learning from our mistakes, and adjusting our approach as needed.
He even talks about embracing failure as a learning opportunity,
Yeah.
which can be challenging for a lot of us.
It can be.
But he frames it as a crucial part of the journey towards achieving meaningful outcomes.
And a key part of that continuous evaluation process is gathering feedback, not just from data and metrics, but also from the people who are actually using or impacted by our products and services.
It's about creating a culture of feedback where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and perspectives, even if they're critical.
Yeah,
And it's about being open to hearing those criticisms and using them to improve.
absolutely.
Ultimately, it's about recognizing that achieving meaningful outcomes is an iterative process.
Mm-hmm.
It requires ongoing effort, constant learning, and a willingness to adapt and evolve.
And it requires a deep understanding of the difference between outputs and outcomes.
Outputs are the things we produce. Outcomes are the impact we create.
And Dr. Almeyda's career, his writing, his entire approach to life is a testament to the power of focusing on those outcomes.
So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive into outputs versus outcomes, it's clear that Dr. Almeyda's story is a powerful reminder that we all have the potential to create positive change.
And that change starts with shifting our focus from simply completing tasks to considering the lasting impact of our actions. Whether we're building a product, leading a team, or just navigating our daily lives.
It's about asking ourselves before we start anything, what is the outcome we want to achieve? And how will we measure its impact?
Are we aiming to just check boxes? Or are we striving to make a meaningful contribution to the world around us? That's the question Dr. Almeyda's work challenges us to consider.
His story is a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of lifelong learning, and the profound impact we can have when we focus on creating real value for others.
And maybe, just maybe by adopting this outcome-oriented mindset, we can all find more meaning and purpose in everything we do.
It's like he's saying, it's not enough to just go through the motions.
Right.
We have to be intentional about the change we want to see in the world.
Absolutely. And I think that's something that everyone listening can take away from this conversation.
Yeah.
It's a call to action, really. To think bigger, to aim higher, and to really focus on the impact we're making with our work and our lives.
And to remember that it's a journey, right?
It is. It's not about perfection. It's about progress.
It's about constantly learning, growing, adapting, and never losing sight of those outcomes.
Exactly. And I think Dr. Almeyda's story shows us that it's possible to achieve amazing things when we embrace that mindset.
It does. And it's a reminder that even in the face of adversity, we can choose to rise above and make a positive impact on the world.
And that's a really powerful message, I think.